Su Ruoxi, Phoenix Dance Continent, 3rd Miss of Prince Su's mansion in Phoenix Heavenly Kingdom. Born useless, ugly, and foolish, he was bullied from a young age and eventually pushed down a cliff by his 2 sisters to death. Wake up again, souls alternate. When the soul of the strong enters the body of the weak, what kind of waves will be stirred up in the Phoenix Dance Continent? Practice. She has an incredible physique that can absorb mystical energy even when lying down and sleeping. Alchemy. I strolled around the forest with my baby, contracted a cute beast, and after taking the medicine, I could pull out the pill. Refiner. On the way, I casually saved a silly and adorable Ruoxi, who turned out to be a genius in refining weapons. The cute and adorable recognized him as the master, only because she was willing to lead the way for him. He is a demon in appearance, unparalleled in charm. On the surface, it appears to be the cold Phoenix King of the Phoenix Heavenly Kingdom, but in reality, it is the mastermind behind the mysterious forces. At first sight, she treated him as an antidote, but never glanced at him. She just took his money and didn't know who he was. Goodbye, she won his money again at his gambling house. When he arrived, she was already empty of money. 6 years later she lifted the mysterious veil and revealed her stunning face. She has washed away the vast country with blood and bloomed countless beauties. There is a person whose heartache has turned into sorrow, for whom 3,000 ink hairs have turned into snow. Someone, silently guarding, died for her blood-stained yellow body. First, the female lead is powerful, cold, stunning, and has a dark belly. Not causing trouble, is not afraid of it, it's just a dislike of trouble. You don't offend me. I won't offend you. If you offend me, eradicate the root cause. The male lead is dark, powerful, and indifferent. The ending is 1.on.1. Su Chinger's only fan group. 154856, keywords of the novel. Poison Dr. Mother Cute Baby. No pop-ups. Poison Dr. Mother Cute Baby TXT Complete Collection Download. Poison Dr. Mother Cute Baby Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 8524. Su Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 3. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Self-inflicted pain, no qualification to shout. Pain M Country, a top French restaurant, was supposed to be during peak dining hours, but the entire restaurant was empty. In the middle of the huge restaurant, at the best long table, sat an elderly man with white hair, seemingly waiting for someone. The old man was wearing a tailored Tang suit, with exquisite workmanship, simple style, and superior fabric. It looked like a custom-made garment by a famous family, and the price was not cheap. A head of blonde hair not only does not appear old-fashioned, but also adds a touch of fairy charm to the old man. It seems that the old man is around 70 years old, with a few wrinkles on his face, indicating that he has a lot of experience. A pair of eyes were very energetic, sometimes shining with brilliance, showing the wisdom of the old man. At this moment, he was holding an M Country Times in his hand, casually looking at it, with a pair of golden-rimmed glasses on his nose bridge. At this age, it was even hard to resist taking a few more glances. A moment later, a youthful and beautiful girl with a ponytail tied, a red checkered shirt on her upper body, and whitewashed jeans on her lower body arrived across from the old man under the guidance of the waiter. The woman smiled and thanked the waiter, then sat directly across from the old man. The old man put down the newspaper in his hand and looked at the woman across from him. The woman lowered her head and looked at the menu in her hand. The bangs on her forehead covered her charming eyes, her fair skin was as pink as a baby, and her facial features were exquisite and beautiful. Her seductive red lips were not spotted but red, and the faint lip gloss was shining, making people unable to resist wanting to kiss. She was definitely a beautiful woman. In the warm light of the restaurant, she sat across from her, seemingly enveloped in a room of radiance, and everything around her turned pale. No one could have imagined that such a pure and beautiful woman's identity was actually a killer. That's right, this woman is none other than Su, the chief gold medal assassin under Death International, a dark organization that has made major powers around the world wary. She is codenamed Death. Su. Death International is a dark organization in the 21st century that makes major powers around the world wary. It has countless assassins and top talents under its umbrella. It is said that the assassins of Death International are as numerous as any store, enterprise, or factory in the world. As long as the mission is not completed, these assassins are all hidden in the public. Some of them are small nurses, some are small staff, some are waiters, some are group executives, there are doctors, police officers, even national leaders, and even roadside beggars and so on. As long as they don't want to, no one can identify them. Because of this, as long as the target targeted by Death International is alive, no matter who Death God Sue, he is the chief gold medal assassin under Death International, with a 0-failure record in his 10 years of debut. He is also the training instructor for Death International assassins. The identity, background, gender, age, and other details of the Grim Reaper Sue are all shrouded in mystery. Even the partners working with Death International have no way of knowing. The only one who knows a little about her is the old man sitting opposite her now, Mr. Hua, the founder of Death International, an equally mysterious old man. Do I have to go for this task? Sue asked casually without looking up. I don't trust anyone else except you. The old man's eyes kept falling on Sue as he spoke. There is an inexplicable light in the eyes. Got it. Sue put down the menu and smiled slightly at the old man, her smile bright, innocent, beautiful and distant. The old man's eyes flashed with a hint of impatience, and he quickly faded away. With a loving smile, he said, I have ordered your favorite steak, and there are other things you want to eat. You can order it yourself. Why have you lost so much weight lately? Eat more. Hee, okay. Sue Wei nodded slightly and said. Exquisite dishes were served one by the waiter, each of which was expensive, delicately crafted, and sold very well, making it look very appetizing. The entire meal lasted for about an hour, and both the old man and Sue remained silent, seriously bowing their heads to eat. The two of them never spoke a word, truly implementing the ancient motto of eating without saying a word. Very thoroughly night, pitch black like ink. Country, top floor of the security bureau. Sue, dressed in a black tight-fitting suit, her petite body fully integrated into the night, swiftly evading the constantly scanning infrared detection system. The body was agile like a civet cat, jumping down from the top floor and directly into a room located on the 9th floor. Boss, you only have 3 minutes left. When it's 3 minutes, you must leave immediately. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Sue's headphones rang out with a seductive female voice, nervously admonishing her. Lon, you go back first. I have no problem. Remember my words, no matter what happens, don't come back, you know. Sue said and immediately took off his headphones. So, she didn't hear a cold laugh coming from the earphones. With his sharp reach and advanced equipment, Sue easily entered a room on the 9th floor, then descended to the 8th floor and entered the last room at the end of the 8th floor. She easily opened the safe according to the information and obtained the information she needed. Just as she was about to get up, a corner of her eye caught sight of a black stone inside the cabinet, and a faint light flashed through it. Curious, she held it in her hand at the same time. The lights in the room suddenly lit up, and countless gunshots rang out in all directions. Even Sue, who had reached out, couldn't escape in the sudden rain of gunfire and bullets that came unprepared. She was hit by countless bullets on her body, and blood kept flowing out of her body. She could even feel clearly that her life was constantly losing in the crowd. A tall and beautiful woman wearing a black tight-fitting suit slowly pushed an elderly man in a wheelchair over. When she saw the old man, Sue was not surprised. She had already been mentally prepared when she took on this task. Just when Sue saw the woman behind the old man, surprise and disappointment flashed in his eyes, and he immediately felt relieved. Hate it. No, she doesn't hate. She has always taught every assassin that the only person she can trust is herself. But she made such an idiot's mistake and believed her. So she doesn't hate it, because it was her own fault. Self-inflicted pain, no right to shout pain. Sue, don't you want to ask me why? The old man asked with a hint of impatience in his eyes. I don't want to, because the answer is no longer important. Sue looked at the old man, the woman behind him, and the countless assassins around him with a smile. Just when the elderly and others were wondering why she was still laughing at this moment. I saw Su quickly take out a black box from his arms and lightly press it with his fingers. Bomb. Accompanied by the loud explosion, Su could clearly see the frightened and angry expressions of those people, as well as the flying limbs and arms of those who had been blown up, before his consciousness fell into darkness. That's enough. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-25. Su Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 4. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2. Is this the underworld? What are you saying? A dangerous female voice gritted her teeth and said, the owner of the voice who could be heard was in a very bad mood at the moment. Cough, this is just a mistake. Ha ha ha. It's really a mistake. A voice accompanied by a smile said vaguely. Damn it, just one mistake from you is enough. My mother's life is ruined, so you tell me the mistake. The woman's voice rose a few times. This woman is none other than the modern gold medalist death god Su. And her current location is the legendary Yanwang Palace. The pitch-black main hall is decorated in great luxury, with a man wearing a black mask sitting on the main seat. It is said that he is the king of hell. On either side of him stood two guards, one black and one white, which were said to be black and white. Impermanent Su, who had fallen into a dark consciousness amidst the explosion, appeared here after waking up, and the person above named Yan Wang told her. Her life should not have ended. The explosion only caused her serious injury and left her in a coma. She will wake up in 2 years. However, due to his mistake, he gave the wrong command, causing black and white impermanence to hook up the wrong soul, and directly bringing her, whose life should not have ended, to the underworld. Su's mood is very bad now. In fact, she is still alive or dead. She didn't care as much anymore. When things happened, the cold betrayal and years of calculation and exploitation, although they didn't make her suffer, left her with no attachment. However, being hooked onto the wrong soul for no reason still makes her very unhappy. Cough, don't be angry. I will make up for this mistake. Don't worry, I will send you back immediately, said the king of hell awkwardly. Send me back. Are you sure my body is still there? It's okay to say if she's not dead, but once it's confirmed that she's dead, those people will probably cremate her as soon as possible. Sure enough, the king of hell remained silent for a moment, and to his dismay, he discovered that Su's body had indeed been cremated. Then he said with a flash of inspiration, well, how about you stay here and become my secretary? Is this the underworld? Su raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, the king of hell nodded. Am I a ghost now? That's right, continued the king of hell. She had been hooked by the wrong soul, and coming here naturally became a ghost. I don't want it, I can clearly be a person. Why do you want to be a ghost here? Su refused directly. Well, then I'll take you to another place. I can change your identity and send you to another place to continue your life. How about that? The king of hell thought for a moment and suddenly patted his mask. Go somewhere else. Change my identity. Are you saying you want me to use someone else's body to survive? No, I won't do it. I want my own body, I don't want someone else's body. Su said directly. Let her enter another physical life. Thinking about it makes her feel uncomfortable all over. It doesn't matter, I can help you find a corpse exactly like your dead body, so you won't get used to it. How about? The king of hell continued to seduce. Exactly the same. What do you mean? Su asked with eyebrows. As soon as the king of hell heard that there was a door, he immediately explained. It is to help you find a body that is exactly the same as your dead body, but in another time and space. In this way, you will not feel unnatural. It is equivalent to another time and space. It is good to live again, right? Upon hearing this, Su lowered his head and remained silent. The king of Yen looked at Su, who was silent, and for some reason he became a little nervous. I'm afraid this little girl will refuse her request again. Why is his majestic king of hell a bit afraid of the little girl in front of him? This is really unbelievable and it hurts his self-esteem too much. Do you mean to let my soul travel through? Sue looked up at the King of Hell across the street and asked lightly. Yes. The King of Hell nodded immediately. Well, where do you plan to send my soul? And what identity is it? Sue asked lightly. Although it's a bit strange to travel through this kind of thing, now she's already in the underworld, and her modern body is probably burned to ashes. Compared to being a ghost in this pitch-black underworld, we can only let this damn king send her to another time and space. That's a place on Earth where you don't exist, called Funwu continent. It's better to have good mountains, water, and good people there. Your identity is the third miss of the Wang mansion. The King of Yen muttered a lot more. After he finished speaking, he lifted his hair and Sue looked at him with a smile on his face. He reached out his hand and remained silent. The King of Yen trembled all over when Sue saw her, for Mao's smile was so terrifying. He calmed down and asked, "What do you mean by this? Bring it. There's no place on Earth, who knows what kind of pervert I'll encounter. If you don't give me some treasure, wouldn't I be bullied when I arrive?" Sue smiled. As soon as she heard what the King of Hell said about the continent, she guessed that it was probably no worse than the travel novels she had read in modern times. It's the kind of place that is similar to ancient China, either practicing or cultivating immortals. She's a modern soul gone, and she doesn't know anything. Isn't she going to die soon? Upon hearing these words, the King of Yen broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Why is this girl so difficult to deal with? He can't give her even if he has a treasure, can he? Besides, how did she know so much? Can't she still travel through time? But it's not written on the information. I don't have any treasures. I am already a god, and gods don't need cultivation, so I don't have any treasures. The King of Hell planned to sneak in and say. Upon hearing this, Sue still lazily stretched out his right hand, looking at him with a disdainful expression on his face. He said nonchalantly, "Uncle Yen, do you think I can believe this kind of nonsense that even a 3-year-old child doesn't believe?" As he spoke, Sue's aura changed and a cold and imposing aura slowly emanated. The Yen King was suffocated and couldn't understand why this girl had such an aura that surpassed the emperor at this moment. She is like the most esteemed deity in the divine realm, making people dare not stare at her and unable to resist wanting to submit to her feet. What the hell is going on here? Sue raised his eyebrows and looked at the Yen King, who was sweating profusely in front of him. Finally, seeing him struggling for a while, he looked up helplessly and said, "All right. I'll give it to you." As he spoke, he extended his left hand and gently placed it on Sue's forehead. Sue felt a surge in his mind, followed by some knowledge belonging to the cultivation of mental techniques being forcibly infused into his memory. "All right." Yen Wang's relieved voice rang in Sue's ear. Sue Wei smiled and continued, "Give me another weapon and some healing pills or something. You." End of this chapter. Chapter 85-26. Su Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The antidote falling from the sky. The King of Hell stared at Su for a long time, and finally had no choice but to take a rusted dagger and a few bottles of elixirs and hand them to her, saying, "Only these, do you want to love them?" Su directly put away the things, placed the pill in his arms, and hid the dagger in his sleeve. "Thank you very much, Uncle Yen, we can leave now," he said. As soon as he saw the good news looking at Su's smiling eyes, the King of Hell felt a sudden sigh of anger for no reason. How could he think this girl was so despicable? "Let's go." The King of Hell nodded and then swiped his hand in the air. Su saw a black vortex in the middle of the hall, and her soul was sucked in as the vortex closed. Su's voice with a smile came from afar. "Uncle Yen, thank you, my dear. I will bring you a gift when we meet again next time." Upon hearing this, the King of Yen always felt something was wrong there. Does this girl feel a bit happy for Mao? The things he gave were all useless. Wang, that one, your ring seems to be missing. Bai Wuchang pointed to the finger of the king of hell and said. Because he seemed to see that woman taking something from Wang's hand just now. Upon hearing this, the king of Yen lowered his head and found that the spatial ring in his hand was indeed missing. Suddenly, his face turned black. It was something he had just obtained a while ago, and before he could even recognize his master, he casually put it on his hand. This girl is really the king of hell. Gave a helpless bitter smile. If you look closely, you will find that there is still a hint of indulgence in his eyes. Wang, do you want me to chase after you? Black Wuchang immediately said. It's okay, let her do it. Girl, I hope we don't meet too early. The king of hell looked into the distance and thought to himself. Fengwu continent, Fengtian kingdom, in a forest on the outskirts of Fengtian city. At this moment, the moon is black and the wind is high, the sky is pitch black like ink, with no stars or moon, and you can't even reach out and see your 5 fingers. Pain, it hurts so much. Hot, so hot. Su was awakened by waves of stinging pain and heat, tormenting her. The brain is still a bit confused, and there are also some unclear situations. The hot and piercing sensation on her body made it difficult for her not to wake up. Suddenly opening his eyes, it was pitch black, with a pair of sharp eyes, vigilantly looking around. Upon careful perception, it was determined that this should be a forest. Su was a bit confused. She clearly remembered the king of hell telling her that she was the 3rd young lady of the royal family here. Why would Mao, the 3rd lady of the royal family, appear in the forest in the middle of the night? It's so hot. Wait, this feeling. A fierce heat and deadly emptiness in the lower abdomen. Let Su's body tremble fiercely. Damn it, she was drugged by someone. Damn the king of hell. Don't let her see him again, otherwise she will definitely want him to look good. Without enough time to think too much, Su reached out and reached into her arms. There was clearly a pill given by the previous king of hell, hoping to detoxify her body. However, this exploration revealed that all the pills and daggers had disappeared completely. Upon closer inspection of the clothes on her body, it was evident that she was not wearing the same one as before. This means that she had never brought the things she had asked for from the king of hell in the underworld. This cognition made Su in his heart and scolded the king of hell fiercely. The king of hell, who was far away in the underworld, sat in the main hall, flipping through the life and death book, sneezing incessantly, making it impossible for him to do anything. After confirming that there was no antidote on her body, Su looked at the pitch-black sky in silence. Did she cross over just to die under this kind of poison? It's better to be a ghost directly in the underworld. No, she can't die like this. As a top-notch assassin in modern times, she is naturally familiar with this medication, and sometimes she has also used it for missions. It's just a modern aphrodisiac, its efficacy is not so strong. She has already bitten her tongue a few times to keep herself awake. She is well aware that if this poison is not detoxified, it will only lead to a dead end. But in the absence of an antidote, the only way is to find a man, and right now, not to mention being a man, there's no other choice for a male beast. At this moment, a golden light suddenly flashed through the air, followed by something falling from the sky. Puff. With a loud bang, an unidentified object fell directly onto the spot where Su was sitting. If it weren't for her quick flashing, she would have been smashed into flesh by now. Looking at the lump of Su beside him, he couldn't help but curse, "Damn it, Nima, what kind of world is this? Are there still people in the sky in the middle of the night?" That's right, Su, who has excellent night vision, has already noticed that someone is falling from the sky. Just because this person's face is facing downwards, they can't see it. However, judging from his figure, Su is certain that he is a man. Thinking of this, Su's eyes lit up. Isn't it true that he needs a man to detoxify now? Did God not want to see her die, so he specially gave her a man? As the medicinal effect reached its peak, Su's consciousness gradually dissipated, his face flushed like boiled shrimp, and his whole body trembled slightly due to the inability to relieve the heat and dryness. At this moment, there was only one thought in her mind. She didn't want to die, she wanted to live. Seeing the man lying motionless in front of her, Su couldn't care about anything else. A few steps closer to the man, he flipped his body over and found a purple mask on his face. Apart from his mouth and eyes, he couldn't see his appearance clearly at this moment. The man had already fallen into a coma, and his slightly undulating chest proved that he was still alive before the last shred of reason flew away. Sue whispered to the man on the ground, "I'm sorry." Then, he threw himself directly at the man. Although she was still a virgin in her past life, as a top-notch assassin, her knowledge in all aspects is very powerful. Even if she has not done it with real bullets, she has watched countless island country films during assassin training with powerful theoretical knowledge and the assistance of powerful potions in her body. Sue was in a hurry and rudely wiped out the man who had fallen from the sky. Omit 500 words here. Sue woke up again because the morning sun was shining on her face, which was a bit harsh looking at the clear sky above her head. Sue's eyes were a bit confused, and her brain briefly crashed. Immediately, I felt something was wrong under me and slowly lowered my head to look. It's okay, but at first glance, my face instantly turned red. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-27. Sue Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 6. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 4. Feng Che. Because there was a man lying on top of her with a bare chest, and at this moment, she was lying on someone else's body in an ambiguous position. Su Jiong. Without enough time to think too much, I immediately thought of standing up, but with this movement, I suddenly felt a chill. Taking a closer look at her current situation, Su just wanted to calculate backwards what kind of ghost is this. After hastily putting on the messy clothes and clumsily putting them on, Su finally felt a little better. At least not like before. I really want to knock myself unconscious with just one punch. Watching the man lying on the ground in his strange attire, even in modern times when killing people is rampant, his mind remains calm and his brain crashes for a moment, stupid and stunned in place for a moment before recalling my own experience. Damn King Yen, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I will definitely let you know why the flowers are so red. Su Shen took several breaths before whispering fiercely. It is clear that I have agreed on my identity as a young lady from the royal family, isn't it? But what is the situation? Not only did she not receive the treatment of Miss Wang, but she also lost her virginity as soon as she wore it. After looking at the desolate environment around her, Sue felt that she had to leave first. Although there is no memory of this body yet. But no matter what identity the original owner of this body is, since she has come, she has even lost the first time in her past and present lives in order to survive, so she cannot waste this opportunity to live again in vain, can she? In modern times, she is also the existence of a generation of hegemons. No matter how much identity this original owner has, in this strange world, she can still live her own wonderful life. Thinking of this, Su touched his own body and found that the original owner really portrayed himself penniless to the fullest. There's nothing left on my body except for clothes. Looking at the unconscious man on the ground, Su Wei paused slightly and squatted down to tidy up his clothes. Then, his small hand caressed him and finally found a delicate money bag under the man's waist. Clothes. Su's lips curled and he pulled them off. Looking at the purple mask on the man's face, she hesitated whether to lift it and see what the antidote looked like. After all, this guy took away the first man in his past and present life. Just as Su's hand touched the man's mask, the previously unconscious person suddenly frowned and let out a slight muffled groan. Su was startled and immediately withdrew his hand. He saw the man's eyelids twitching, as if there were signs of waking up at any moment. Thinking about his previous actions, Su felt like he was foolish not to run now. So, with a deep glance at the man on the ground, his red lips lifted lightly and he said, "The antidote, thank you for last night's incident. However, you've also found a bargain. Even if we're even, we won't owe each other anymore. We'll see each other in the future." As Su finished speaking and was about to leave, the corner of his eye suddenly shifted to a quaint ring not far away. It was precisely from the hands of the King of Hell that she left the underworld before. Su walked over, picked it up and put it on his hand. He glanced at the man who was about to wake up again, then turned around and disappeared into the dawn. Fengtian City, the imperial capital of Fengtian Kingdom. Fengwang Mansion Hall. At this moment, there stood a man in white in the hall. He was dressed in white like snow, with a noble aura that no one could match, as if he were the king of heaven and earth, making people only look up to him. His facial features are as handsome as a knife cut, with a pair of starry eyes that resemble the vast and boundless starry sky, shining brilliantly. Exquisite facial features are like top-notch painters, outlined with every stroke, captivating to the extreme. This man's appearance is stunning, so stunning that people almost dare not look directly at him, just because his appearance is too dazzling. He is like the absolute darling of heaven, giving him everything that is absolutely perfect, which can only be stunning, incredibly stunning. However, at this moment, the expression on the face of such a delicate and handsome man can only be described as being shrouded in dark clouds. Even so, he is still breathtaking in beauty. Kneeling in front of him was a man dressed in a black basket of strong clothing. The two of them knelt down in front of the man with their heads down, not daring to take a breath. If you look closely, you will find that they sometimes secretly look at the man in front of them with their eyes. Do you mean that when you discover this king, only this king himself is at the bottom of the valley? The man in white's cold and dangerous voice rang out. Yes, Master. When we followed the spirit eagle to find you, only Master was unconscious at the bottom of the valley. The man in blue secretly looked up at his own master and said. And then what? The man in white asked, suppressing his anger. The two of them were taken aback at the words, what then? Last night, after the master was poisoned, they couldn't stop the crazy master and watched him fly out of the palace. In the end, the white divine doctor spared no effort and consecutively condensed 10 spirit eagles. In the end, the two of them followed the guidance of the spirit eagle after dawn and found the master who was unconscious at the bottom of the falling sky valley. Then they brought the master back to the royal mansion. Is there no more then? What exactly does the master mean? Then, Blue and I brought the master back. The man in black thought for a moment and said truthfully. Is there anyone else around the king? After a long silence, the man in white asked leisurely. Master, there's no one else. Lon Yi said inexplicably. Step back, coldly uttered 2 words, and the man in white turned around and entered the back hall. In an elegantly decorated room, there is a man in purple lying on the bed. His face is a bit pale at this moment, and his eyes are tightly closed. Obviously, this person is unconscious at this moment. The man in white watched the person on the bed for a moment by the bedside, and his figure disappeared into the room in a flash. When he reappeared, his person had already reached the bottom of the valley, where he had previously been unconscious. Looking at the obvious messy traces of vegetation around, the man's eyes became even colder and sharper. No one knows what he is thinking, let alone that he is now angry and wants to kill. Damn it. Don't let him find that woman, otherwise he will definitely make her life more difficult than death. That's right, this man in white is none other than the one who was wiped clean by Su before. Leisure Phoenix King Fengche in Fengtian Kingdom. Last night, after being poisoned, he flew to the Valley of Fallen Heaven with the last trace of reason in order not to harm the people in the palace. However, he didn't want to lose consciousness and fall to the bottom of the valley when he was about to land. At the moment when his consciousness disappeared and he fell from the air, he vaguely saw the presence of someone at the bottom of the valley. He had originally wanted to shout for the other person to dodge, but at that time he completely fell into a coma. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-28. Su Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 7. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 5. Did you just speak? But he was just unconscious, not dead. Therefore, he is naturally very clear about what someone has done to him. However, due to the toxic effect, even though he became conscious, his body was unable to clear up. But he clearly felt that he had been given by a woman. He endured being forced by a woman and thought he would slowly wake up. However, he didn't know that woman was just a female hooligan, and in the end, she just tossed and turned him unconscious. When he woke up, he had already returned to the palace. However, this matter cannot be ignored, it is simply a failure in his life. He wished he could catch that woman and torture her to death. Feng Che narrowed his eyes dangerously and carefully looked around, hoping to find a clue left by the woman. Unfortunately, he still had to go back and forth to look at the place countless times, but there was still no trace of a woman. If it weren't for his personal experience last night, he would have doubted if he had dreamed it himself. Finally, Feng Che could only reluctantly leave the Five Poisons forest across from Luotian Valley. When Su woke up again, she found herself in a strange place. In front of her was a gray space, and she could barely see her 5 fingers when she reached out. She couldn't understand why Mao himself would appear here, and with a flash of inspiration, she suddenly remembered what had happened before. She originally wanted to see what the antidote looked like, but found out that the other person was about to wake up, so she wiped oil on the soles of her feet and ran away. Who knows, she didn't go far. Because of her weak body, she was tired and sweating profusely. So when she found a water source not far away, she followed the sound of the water and came to the edge of a pool. After washing my face and tidying up the clothes I had just casually worn, I found fish in the pond water. So I grabbed a few and prepared to avoid my own 5 organs temple. Unexpectedly, while tidying up the fish, she accidentally cut her finger and blood flowed onto the ring she was wearing on her hand. Then she saw a dazzling light burst from her hand, and she lost consciousness. What is this place? Su muttered, looking at the gray space around him in confusion. This is the space within the black and white ring. At this moment, a distant voice came. Black and white divine ring. Are you talking about this? Su raised the ring he was wearing in his hand and said. Yes, since the black and white ring has recognized you as the Lord, then from now on you will be the master of the black and white ring, the voice continued. Oh, who are you? Su lowered his head and played with the ring in his hand, secretly guessing the other person's identity. Although she has never traveled through time, she has still read some of the so-called time travel dramas and novels in modern times. It's not because she enjoys reading, but as a top-notch assassin, she doesn't allow her knowledge area to have blind spots. Whether she likes or doesn't, she takes time to understand. In addition, she was born with the ability to remember everything in her past life. As long as she had read it, she would never forget anything again. Reading books was even more a sight for her. She had just finished reading a fantasy novel called Miss Ju Sei Xiao Zhangjiu, and the female protagonist seemed to have a similar identity as herself, traveling to a different continent. Many of the plots inside are still fresh in her memory, which means she also met the golden finger and had a fantastic spatial ring. But now, on my own territory, there is an inexplicable and wonderful voice that only sounds and movements do not appear. Is this disrespecting my master? Hee, that's right. You're too weak now, you don't have the right to know who I am. As if deliberately going against Su, the other person's voice carried a hint of a smile and said directly. Really? Since you say I am the owner of this ring, and you, since you exist in this ring, I believe this ring is also very important to you. If I throw this ring into the cesspool, I don't know. Su said kindly. Dare you? Do you know that the black and white ring is a divine object? How can it be desecrated at will? The other party clearly said angrily. What does it have to do with me? Without this ring, I can still live a wonderful life. A god who inexplicably recognizes me as the main deity, who knows if it will cause me trouble? I am very lazy and dislike trouble. Su said disdainfully. Sample it. Calling her on her territory, I thought sister was afraid of you. How to say the soul of my sister, is it also from the 21st century? Can anyone with high intelligence throw you a few kilometers? Playing tricks with my sister is really beyond my ability. The other party clearly did not expect Su to say so. Upon careful consideration, what she said was indeed correct. She would have lived with or without this ring, but she has been drifting in the vast expanse of the universe for so many years, and if she can't find its owner again, it may disappear. But looking down at its own appearance, it was very unwilling to let people feel swollen. What should we do? Can't you come out yet? I'll count to 5. If you can't come out yet, don't blame me for being impolite. Su said calmly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pang. As Sue took off the ring in her hand and counted up to 5, a ball of something bumped into her arms. Sue lowered his head and looked at the ball that had bumped into his arms. It was white and fluffy, now nestled in Sue's arms, with no face exposed. Sue saw this and gave a sharp twitch at the corner of his mouth. Is this guy what he just said? Is it being shy? Just now you arrogantly said you're weak, is that really this guy? Sue curiously picked it up and held it in front of her. What are you doing? The little guy had to raise his head and shout when Sue picked him up. Sue just saw its appearance clearly now, how to say it. Even Sue, who has seen a lot in modern times, couldn't see what this guy really is. It's about the size of a rabbit, with a round ball-like shape, no tail, and a snow-white body without any stray hair. A pair of pitch-black little eyes, looking very cute, with a small mouth that looks like a red date, 2 small ears, white pressed against the hair, not careful to see it at all, and it doesn't even have 1 leg. Sue even suspects that it walks with a rub. I'm not using it for rubbing, can I fly well? Sensing Sue's thoughts in his heart, the little one moved his body very arrogantly, directly escaping Sue's clutches and floating in front of her. Seeing Sue's eyes brighten up, I have to say that this little guy is very cute. At least he hit her cute spot. It's really cute. Moreover, the voice of speaking now is different from before. The voice of speaking now is similar to that of a 3-year-old child, and it is also cute. Did you talk earlier? Sue looked at the little guy in front of him and asked. Yeah. Then you can say it again in the same voice as before. Sue said with some disbelief. I can't say it, I can only say a few words. That's a disguised voice, it can only last for a while. The little one said awkwardly. For new articles, please take them with you. For those who like naming, you can take a look in the comments section. Touch, end of this chapter. Chapter 85-29. Sue Family and Tongtian Pagoda, 8. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. Little white Su Wenyan curled his lips and said that the little one's movements just now were intentionally deceiving her. Tell me what you are, right? Su Yi pulled the small white ball in mid-air into his arms and rubbed it. I am the spirit of the black and white god ring, my name is Black Yao, the little one said arrogantly. Upon hearing this, Su picked up the little one again and carefully looked up, down, left, right, and over again. Finally, he looked at the little one with some disdain and asked, Black Yao. Are you sure you're not colorblind? Did you see your white hair all over as black? I'm not colorblind. I was originally black, so my name is Black Yao. The little one insisted, although it didn't know what colorblind meant, its intuition was not good. Alright, regardless of whether you used to be called Heiyao Bai Yao, in the future you will be called Xiao Bai. This name is the perfect match for you, understand? Su thought for a moment and said. I don't want to call Xiao Bai, she's too feminine. She's not domineering at all, the little one objected. The opposition is ineffective. Can you tell me what's going on in this gray space? Su declared arrogantly. The space of the black and white ring was not originally like this. Ah. As soon as Xiao Bai spoke, Su felt a sudden stabbing pain in his mind. Even Su, who had always been able to endure the pain, lost consciousness in an instant and collapsed to the ground. Master, what's wrong with you? Master, wake up. Little Bai was startled and immediately jumped onto Su's body, shouting nervously. Just no matter how it shouted, Su remained motionless and fainted there for a long time. Su finally slowly opened her eyes and rubbed her still slightly uncomfortable head. She really wants to faint again and never wake up. Leaving aside her travels to this world, she fell into a coma several times in less than a day. Just now, after fully accepting the memory of the original owner, she felt an irresistible urge to leave, and now she completely understands where she has traveled. This is a place called Funwu Continent, which is a fictional era not recorded in the history of the 21st century. The original owner Su Ruoxi, the third lady of the Su Wang Mansion in Fengwu Continent, Fengtian Kingdom. I am 15 years old this year, with a naturally disabled physique, an ugly appearance, and a foolish person. Although she is the legitimate daughter, she has been neglected since childhood and has been bullied by the people in the royal family because she is a waste. Su Ruoxi's father is Su Zhe, the only legitimate son of King Su. His mother's identity is unknown and her whereabouts are unknown. 15 years ago, Su Zhe returned to the royal palace holding Su Ruoxi, who had just been born. After handing over the infant Su Ruoxi to the old Prince Su, he disappeared. It has been 15 years now, but there is still no news from then on. Xiao Ruoxi lived a life of hardship in the Su prince's mansion. Prince Su has always disliked Su Ruoxi because seeing her reminds him of his only son, who has been missing for 15 years without any news, so he kept handing over Xiao Ruoxi to a wet nurse, but ordered that no one harm Su Ruoxi's life. If it weren't for the iron order from the old prince, Su Ruoxi would have died 1,000 times long ago when the original owner was 5 years old. Xiao Ruoxi was tested as a useless cultivator, and the people of the Su prince's mansion showed even more disdain towards the original owner. Finally, after being heavily drugged by her two sisters, the original owner was taken to Luotian Valley. Originally, her two sisters wanted someone to tarnish Su Ruoxi's innocence before pushing her down to Tiangu and causing her to fall to death unexpectedly. When the original owner saw those servants rushing up, she was too frightened and fell directly into the bottom of the valley. In the end, the fragrance faded away, allowing her soul, which had been killed by the explosion in modern times, to cross over. After sighing 250 times, Su had to accept his new identity. Is it waste? Are parents missing? Not attractive to people, right? Humph, that was Su Ruoxi before, now she is Su Ruoxi. All the past will be erased, and she will rewrite her own destiny. Su Ruoxi placed her hand on her chest and whispered in her heart, since I have taken over your body, I will live a good life on your behalf. I will avenge those who have bullied you. Actually, I am you, you are me. Since you are back, I hope you can find your parents and rescue them. A faint voice rang in Su's mind after her words had finished, and she had not yet figured out who this voice was. I felt a strange and warm force flowing throughout her body, making her feel so comfortable that she wanted to scream. After a moment, Su Ruoxi felt that her originally weak body was full of strength and much more comfortable. Oh, master, your soul is complete. Xiao Bai curiously looked at Su Ruoxi's changes and said. What does that mean? Su Ruoxi asked, somewhat puzzled. Before, I noticed that your soul seemed incomplete. How come after you fainted and woke up, your soul was complete? Little Bai said, somewhat puzzled. Upon hearing this, Su Ruoxi carefully recalled the meaning behind the faint girl's words just now. Although she doesn't quite understand what she means by you being me, I am what you mean. But at least according to Xiao Bai, having a complete soul is still a good thing, isn't it anyway? From now on she will be Su Ruoxi, and Su Ruoxi will be her. As for the voice just now, it should have belonged to the original owner. Since she occupied someone else's body, it was equivalent to owning everything of the original owner. So her parents will also be her parents from now on, no matter what, even without the original owner's request. She wouldn't watch her parents suffer either. Those who owe her will one day repay her. Thinking of this, Su Ruoxi still felt a little depressed. Because according to memory, this body seems to be a waste, not to mention that she doesn't know where her parents are. What happened again? Even if I knew, it would be difficult to save people just by relying on my current useless body. Master, do you still want to listen to the matter of space? Xiao Bai asked with some uncertainty as she saw her owner, who was still in high spirits just now, instantly turn into a frosty eggplant. Yes, you can tell me, I'll listen. Su Ruoxi said weakly. Oh, all right. This is the space of the black and white ring. Before, this was. As Xiao Bai spoke more and more, Su Ruoxi's eyes became brighter. In the end, looking at Xiao Bai was like seeing many Grandpa Mao, with red hearts in her eyes. Xiao Bai, are everything you're saying true? Is this ring really so awesome? Su Ruoxi interrupted before Xiao Bai could finish speaking. Cough cough, master. Don't get excited, let me finish first. The black and white ring is a unique innate ring, naturally the most powerful. But because every owner of the ring is an incredible genius, many people are constantly chasing after them because they covet the black and white ring. After countless years, every time the owner of the black and white ring disappears, the black and white ring will lose 1 point, and now it has become like this. If it weren't for meeting you, maybe I will also disappear soon. Xiao Bai said at the end, his voice getting quieter and quieter. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-30. Light Gold Blood Beads. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Portable fresh. Keeping boxes. Xiao Bai, do you mean that this once so awesome ring is now just a movable fresh. Keeping box? Su Ruoxi said fiercely as she looked at Xiao Bai. Although Xiao Bai didn't know what the owner meant by the fresh. Keeping box, he nodded very knowingly when he saw the owner's terrifying expression. Su Ruoxi's originally excited expression suddenly wilted again. I thought I had found a treasure, but it turned out to be grass. According to Xiao Bai, this black and white divine ring is indeed very powerful and impressive. However, that's all from the past. The current black and white ring is what she sees now, with only the 3 square meters of space she can see in front of her. Compared to the rest of the space rings in this world, even if the black and white divine ring only has such a small amount of space, it is still very impressive. Because ordinary space rings can only store dead objects, while black and white divine rings can store all living objects, including humans because, as Xiao Bai said, there is currently no xuanqi in the space and one cannot practice. And, most importantly, Xiao Bai also said that because she signed a soul contract with the black and white ring, if the black and white ring disappears, it means she's going to die. On the contrary, even if she wears the black and white ring, she will disappear, which means she is very lucky to become the last owner of the black and white ring. Su Ruoxi felt very distressed. In her past life, she engaged in such a dangerous profession and never gave her life to anyone. Now, fortunately, as she traveled through this strange world, her own life was tied to a broken ring. Oh my goodness, are you playing with her, master? As long as your strength becomes stronger, the black and white divine ring will slowly recover and become the most powerful existence in the entire universe. Xiao Bai encouraged Su Ruoxi as he saw her expression of being unattainable. Su Ruoxi looked at Xiao Bai's adorable longing for the future, and she couldn't bear to tell the little guy, "Your master, I'm a waste." Sensing Su Ruoxi's thoughts, Xiao Bai rolled her eyes indecisively. Has the owner been fooled by the black and white divine ring? I actually feel like a waste, and I don't even think if she were a waste, how could she possibly contract the black and white god ring? You should know that every previous owner of it was a genius at the level of a demon. Even if the owner is weak now, in the future, they will still go against the sky. However, looking at Su Ruoxi's current strength, Xiao Bai feels that the master is no different from a waste. It seems like it's going to help its owner once, but in that case, it will have to sleep for at least 6 months, and I don't know if it will wake up again. But looking at Su Ruoxi's lack of energy, Xiao Bai gritted his teeth and flew over Su Ruoxi's head. Under Su Ruoxi's puzzled gaze, a faint white light emanated from his small body. After the white light came out of Xiao Bai's body, it slowly fell into Su Ruoxi's head and then disappeared. After a moment, Xiao Bai's body softened and fell to the ground. Su Ruoxi quickly caught Xiao Bai, touched its slightly stiff body, frowned, and asked, "Xiao Bai, what's wrong with you? What was that just now?" "Master, just now I gave you the last essence of the power of the black and white divine ring. I hope you can cultivate well." "I'm fine, I just need to sleep for a while." Xiao Bai fell into a deep sleep after saying that. Su Ruoxi held the little one in her hand and saw the lively little white lying silently in her palm. For some reason, a hint of sadness welled up in her heart. "It's all my fault that I was too pessimistic just now," which made Xiao Bai worried, so I didn't hesitate to use its power to cheer myself up. What's wrong with oneself? It's just a change of place, and she's actually become more worried. What's wrong with waste? What's wrong with the old black and white ring? Who is she? She is the Grim Reaper Sue of the modern assassin world, isn't she? Xiao Bai, don't worry. I will definitely restore you to black radiance, and I will also make the black and white god ring shine again. Let's work hard together. Su Ruoxi gently caressed Xiao Bai's appearance and said softly. Her words also made the little guy in his hand completely rest assured and fall asleep. Su Ruoxi sat in place holding Xiao Bai and checked what Shihai Xiao Bai had just given her. I don't know if I don't look, but at first glance, I was really scared. Even Xiao Bai doesn't know what he gave Su Ruoxi. It's a spiritual tool in space. So it possesses the primary power of this space within its body. It just feels like its only remaining strength will be beneficial to Su Ruoxi, but it doesn't know if it will be beneficial or how much. After all, it has never been used before. At this moment, there was a golden book floating in Su Ruoxi's sea of consciousness, with no name on the pages. Su Ruoxi realized that as soon as she thought about reading it, the book automatically opened. When Su Ruoxi saw the content on the first page, she was somewhat surprised. However, she still read the entire book seriously, and just after she finished reading it, the floating book also turned into a little white light scattered in her sea of knowledge, and the book disappeared. But she felt as if her spiritual power had suddenly become much stronger, and her perception had become much more sensitive. She knows that this kind of spiritual power, called soul power here, is a very rare and innate soul power based on the memories of the original owner and the records from the anonymous book just now. Su Ruoxi has gained a deeper understanding of the world she is in. Fengwu continent is divided into two major empires, Fengtian Kingdom and Diwu Kingdom. Although the two countries seem peaceful, they have never stopped fighting. Once, the two empires were on par in terms of strength and financial resources, so it was difficult to determine the winner. However, in the past century, the talent of the Phoenix Heavenly Kingdom has declined, and many talented young people have been killed one after another before they have fully achieved their goals. They either go missing or are killed, but the culprit cannot be found. Although everyone in Fengtian Kingdom suspects that it was done by Diwu Kingdom, there is no evidence to question it at all. The two empires have now reached a point where water and fire are incompatible. Due to the strained relationship between the two empires, the remaining powers on the mainland also became incompatible with each other due to their distribution in different positions of the two empires. For example, in the Fengtian Kingdom region, the always opposing force is the Tianxia First Village in the Diwu Kingdom region. The Alchemy Alliance in Fengtian Kingdom hates the Weapon Refining Alliance in Diwu Kingdom the most. In addition, there are four major aristocratic families that surpass the royal families of the two countries, namely the Feng and Ling families located in Fengtian Kingdom, and the Shui and Yun families located in Diwu Kingdom. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-31. The Catastrophe of Bodhi Temple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Level. Also, due to the relationship between the two countries, the relationship between the two major families of Feng and Ling is closer, and the Shui and Yun families are even closer to each other. The four great aristocratic families have been shouting and fighting for thousands of years, both openly and secretly. Of course, there are also forces that maintain neutrality, such as the Beast Taming Alliance and the Treasure Pavilion. Due to the scarcity of trainers, major empires and forces were unwilling to offend the Beast Taming Alliance, and as a result, the Beast Taming Alliance maintained a neutral position. And the Treasure Pavilion, on the other hand, is because the owner behind it is too mysterious, and no one will buy it, whether it is the account of that power in the two countries. Relying on its strong strength and unique management techniques of the Treasure Pavilion, it arrogantly earns money on the Fengwu continent. Because Treasure Pavilion is the only power in Fengwu continent that has branches in various countries, all the things in the Treasure Pavilion are valuable but not marketable treasures. Only what you can't imagine. There is nothing that Treasure Pavilion cannot do. As long as you can afford the price, you can buy anything you want at the Treasure Pavilion. Fengwu continent is originally a world where the strong hold the throne and martial arts are revered. Everyone can cultivate, except for talented demons, anyone who cultivates requires some cultivation resources, such as pills and so on. So, no one dares to offend the treasure pavilion at all. Combined with their strong strength, even if you have the intention to go, you won't be able to come back over time. It is unknown when all the auction houses in Funwu continent were acquired by Treasure Pavilion. Nowadays, all auction houses in Funwu mainland are called Treasure Pavilion. People in Funwu continent are all cultivators. People in this world can cultivate once they are born. They all use the essence of aura in the air for their own use, and people have a unified name for this aura called Xuanqi. The cultivation levels of Xuanqi are divided into red Xian, orange Xian, yellow Xian, green Xian, blue Xian, purple Xian, ink Xian, earth Xian, heaven Xian, holy Xian, divine level. The color and attributes of Xuanqi correspond to red, fire attribute, orange, yellow, green, wood attribute, cyan, wind attribute, blue, water, ice attribute, purple, thunder attribute, ink, dark attribute, brown, earth attribute, white, light attribute, pink, gold, metallic attribute, and so on. Most people are born with a certain attribute, and by the time they reach the age of 5 for the Xuanqi test, they will know what attribute they possess. A child with 2 attributes is one who has excellent talent. There are 3 basic attributes that are defined as geniuses, and once measured, they are all exciting things for the whole family, and those with 3 or more attributes are basically demons. But in Funwu continent, there have been people with at most 3 attributes, and those with 3 or more attributes have never been. Most people believe that they are just legends. The original owner Su Ruoxi had no attributes during the 5-year-old Fu test, which is said to be even rarer than the number of demon-level characters with 3 or more attributes. At that time, it also shocked Fengtian City. After all, although there have not been 3 or more types of demons with attributes on the Funwu continent, it is said that they still existed thousands of years ago. But waste seems to have never existed, even 10,000 years ago. What are you talking about? It's so rare. Su Ruoxi was also drunk when she thought of this, and indeed she was a unique waste. Among several attributes, the fire attribute is the most popular and also the rarest, because most of the people in Funwu continent are practitioners of water and ice attributes. As for why this happened, no one knows. The reason why the fire attribute is popular is because, in addition to cultivators, there are several special professions, which are alchemists, weapon refiners, animal trainers, and so on. And I want to become an alchemist, an animal trainer, and so on. The first thing to possess is a strong soul power. In addition to animal trainers, alchemists must also possess the mysterious energy of fire attribute. The levels of alchemists are divided into Dantu, Danshi, Danwang, Danzong, Dansheng, Danshan. Each level is further divided. There are 4 sub-levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and peak. The levels of alchemists are divided into junior alchemist, intermediate alchemist, senior alchemist, master level alchemist, holy level alchemist, and divine level alchemist. Each level is further divided. There are 4 stages: basic, intermediate, advanced, and peak. And the warcraft in this world, also known as spirit beasts, is different from modern animals, and the beasts here can also be cultivated. The levels of warcraft are divided into spiritual beasts, sacred beasts, divine beasts. Each level is further divided into 1.9 levels. Spiritual beasts at or above level 5 possess a certain level of intelligence, knowing how to avoid powerful enemies and risks. Spiritual beasts can speak human language when cultivated to a sacred beast, and transform into human form when cultivated to a divine beast. The levels of animal trainers are divided into junior tamer, intermediate tamer, senior tamer, grandmaster level tamer, holy level tamer, divine level tamer. Each level is further divided. There are 4 stages: basic, intermediate, advanced, and peak. Whether it's alchemist, or beast tamer, they are all hot professions on the Funwu continent. Because even the strong won't offend people from these 3 professions just because no one needs a pill or something, and no one wants to have a good weapon and a few powerful contract beasts. So, regardless of which faction, it would be better to offend 100 strong enemies than to offend an alchemist, weapon refiner, or animal trainer. Therefore, in the Funwu continent, as long as you become a variety of teachers, you will receive VIP treatment wherever you go, which is extremely impressive. However, it is not easy to become such a formidable teacher. It is rare to see someone like 1 out of 100,000, especially for animal trainers. If you want to become one, although you don't need to have special cultivation attributes, you must have strong soul power. Otherwise, during the process of taming animals, it is easy to be backfired by spiritual beasts. Mild ones may be seriously injured, while severe ones may directly become idiots, and soul power is innate, and it is almost difficult to improve the day after tomorrow. So, compared to the other two major guilds, the Beast Tamer Guild has the least number of people but a relatively high-status alchemists, and alchemists, on the basis of having a certain level of soul power, also need to possess the mysterious energy of fire attribute. Therefore, the relationship between the two major guilds has always been strained due to the competition for talent. The currency of Funwu continent is silver coins, gold coins, and xianche. Xianche can not only be used as currency, but also for cultivation. It is one of the common cultivation resources in Funwu continent. The exchange ratio is 100 silver coins equals 1 gold coin, and 100 gold coins equals 1 inferior xianche. 100 inferior xianche equals 1 medium xianche, 100 medium xianche equals 1 superior xianche, and 100 superior xianche equals 1 top-grade xianche. And the annual living expenses of ordinary people are only 100.600 gold coins. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-32. Only then can she feel at ease. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Cultivation. In the book that Xiaobai gave to Su Ruoxi, it recorded the drug doctor's verdict. You can tell what it is by its name. That's right. Besides the beginning, which is a brief introduction to the world, the main content in the middle is medical and toxicology, which provides a detailed introduction to the names, effects, appearance, growth, environment, and so on of countless medicinal herbs. Then there is the formula and refining method of the pill. The latter half is a record of poison techniques, introducing all the characteristics of various poisonous flowers, weeds, insects, mist, and toxins, as well as the methods of preparing various poisons. Rao is Su Ruoxi, who has the ability to never forget, and it is also a bit difficult to remember all of these. Fortunately, although books have disappeared, they have not really disappeared, but have integrated into Su Ruoxi's sea of knowledge. With just a slight thought, the answer she wanted to find reappeared in her memory. Su Ruoxi couldn't help but sigh that compared to computers in the 21st century, they are even more powerful and require input commands. This is great, there's no need for it at all, just one idea on your own is enough. Finally, there was an unnamed set of cultivation techniques recorded. After hesitating for a while, Su Ruoxi repeatedly memorized those few simple cultivation techniques and planned to go outside to find a place to try. Su Ruoxi looked at the gray space again and felt that her belly was empty. Although she wasn't very hungry, it was probably due to a relationship she had become accustomed to in modern times. She always wanted to eat something. Who makes her a foodie in modern times? In the 21st century, she has always been lazy about everything, but she is diligent in eating. For the sake of her own stomach, she has traveled around the world and learned hundreds of culinary methods. Looking back, in her past life, she was cruelly trained for the first decade or so, and in the following years, it seemed that besides killing people and carrying out tasks, she was just eating. Life is really too monotonous. Having been in the space all along and not knowing what was happening outside, Su Ruoxi realized that she had seen the scene outside and couldn't help but sigh. Originally, inside the space, she could also see the outside situation, which felt very good. She found that it was already dark outside, which means she had been in the space all day and it was already late at night outside. After touching her stomach, Su Ruoxi decided to go out and hunt some prey, and it would be better to find something to eat. By the way, find a place to try and cultivate yourself. Thinking this way, her people had already arrived outside and landed by the creek where she had washed the fish before. When she saw several fish on the ground by the water that she had washed halfway and left behind, Ruoxi reached out to pick them up and smell them, only to find that they were quite fresh after cleaning it up. I took it aside and searched for branches. Finally, I found a few pieces of flint-like material in the space, lit a fire, and grilled a few fish. Although there are no seasonings, fortunately the fish here are quite delicious. Ruoxi finally had her first authentic grilled fish meal in this world and felt much more comfortable. Sure enough, for foodies, they only feel alive when they have something in their stomach. After finishing her meal, Ruoxi carefully looked around and found that there was nothing strange about this place except for a small pond. Moreover, besides the occasional roar of beasts and the cold night breeze, it seemed quite quiet around. She originally planned to find a cave or something to try and cultivate herself, but she carefully sensed around and found that the forest was really not ordinary in size. Perhaps it is a fusion of the spiritual power of the original owner, and she found that in modern times, her night vision ability is very good. Now, her night vision ability is even stronger. She could probably see the situation 100 miles away. So after discovering that there were no caves to hide in within a radius of 100 miles, Ruoxi decided to give it a try here. So Ruoxi, after confirming that there was nothing around her that would disturb her, sat cross-legged in place, closed her eyes, and recalled a few mnemonic phrases she had seen before. Slowly calmed down and then introduced Qi into the elixir field. She doesn't know how weak her body is, nor does she know if she can cultivate. Everything can rely on her own exploration. Gradually, she felt a gentle force enveloping herself, making her whole body feel warm and drowsy. But with her eyes closed, she didn't see any faint colored dots rising in the surrounding air, competing to penetrate into Ruoxi's body. If someone sees it, they will definitely be scared to death. Because the colors of the light spots that penetrated into Ruoxi's body were red, green, blue, gold, brown, purple, white, and black. Even the moonlight in the sky sprinkled a faint moonlight that penetrated into her body. Countless colors of mysterious energy were slowly absorbed by Ruoxi at a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. The clear and bottomless water pool not far away during the day has now become pitch black like ink, like a pool of ink. Suddenly, as if summoned by something, a strand of water was lifted and slowly flowed towards Ruoxi sitting on the side. The black water chain wrapped around Ruoxi. It can be clearly seen that those water chains were directly absorbed by Ruoxi after touching her body. The ink in the small pool was decreasing at a visible speed to the naked eye, and Ruoxi also has feelings about these black pools being absorbed by herself. But she was only momentarily stunned and didn't feel curious, because she remembered in the original owner's memory that most of the people in Funwu continent practiced water and the mysterious energy with ice attributes. Does this water being absorbed by herself mean she's not a waste anymore? She can also practice now. Thinking of this made her very happy, so she worked even harder to absorb it. In less than 2 hours, the previously full pool had dried up and was completely absorbed by Ruoxi. It's hard to imagine how much water she has absorbed there. After the water in the pool was completely absorbed by her, Ruoxi felt a slight swelling in her dantian, as if it was about to explode, causing a general discomfort. She didn't dare to be careless, biting her lips and carefully following the method on the mnemonic, controlling the unknown power inside her body, and rushing into the dantian together. Finally, after a crisp sound, Ruoxi felt like she was full of strength, and then several rays of advancement shone on her body. After a long time, the light of promotion completely disappeared, and Ruoxi looked at the red aura on his fingertips foolishly. I never expected that she would not only be able to cultivate, but also advance. In addition to her water attribute, she also possessed a rare fire attribute and mystical energy. Does this mean that she can also become an alchemist and an alchemist? This is simply great. End of this chapter. Chapter 85-33. Listening makes me feel comfortable all over. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Like the Five Poisons Forest, deep like the sea. 10 days later, in the depths of the Five Poisons Forest, Ruoxi sat slumped under an ancient tree, covered in dirt and sweat on his forehead. In front of her lay the giant 8th-level spirit beast, the serrated poisonous tiger. Don't think you're a tiger, I'm afraid of you. Humph, you're still a good girl for dinner. Ruoxi said as she pulled out 2 venomous tiger teeth from the tiger's mouth and threw them into the space 10 days ago. Because she was able to cultivate, she sat there foolishly and was happy for half a day. Finally, she returned to the space and took a nap. She had originally planned to wake up and leave the forest to go back to the original Lord's mansion to see. Who knew that when I woke up and came out again, after walking for a long time, I found myself lost and had been spinning around in the same place. Obviously, she was trapped in some kind of maze, and she didn't understand the formation. She didn't know what to do for a moment. She stood still and watched the sun rise and moon fall, daydreaming for a day and night. Ruoxi finally confirmed that she was indeed trapped in a maze. Fortunately, this place seemed very safe, with her alone and countless trees that looked the same day and night. Since she can't leave, she doesn't want to just wait and die like this. So I decided to sit down and practice while waiting to see if anyone would come here again. Ruoxi, who quickly entered the cultivation process, did not focus on her cultivation this time. While practicing, she did not forget to pay attention to the movements around her. Therefore, she was quickly surprised to find that with her continuous cultivation, the surrounding environment seemed to be changing. Although it was very subtle, she still discovered it. For example, some trees that were originally of the same thickness underwent changes as she practiced for a longer time. Do you have to absorb all the mysterious energy here before you can go out? Ruoxi thought to herself. Regardless of whether it was right or not, Sima could only try as a living doctor, so Ruoxi began to work hard to cultivate. Sure enough, when the light of promotion shone again on her, Ruoxi slowly opened his eyes and found that his level had reached the intermediate level of Blue Xian. At her age in Fengwu continent, her strength is already considered a genius level. After Ruoxi advanced, the environment in front of her also changed. She found herself standing at a strange entrance, and except for a place in front of her that seemed to be a cave entrance, there were cliffs and no way to walk around. Ruoxi hesitated for a moment and could only choose to continue moving forward. No matter what was waiting for her at the front, there were no 2 words in her dictionary for staying or retreating. As a result, Ruoxi walked into the cave with her front foot, and behind her came a loud bang. When she turned around, she found that the entrance had been blocked, indicating that she had no way out. Even though she had never thought of retreating without a way out, Ruoxi could only continue forward. Rather than being a cave, it was more like a passage. Ruoxi didn't know how long she had been walking. When she walked out and saw the scene in front of her, she really wanted to curse profusely, but she endured because what appeared in front of her was still a lush forest. She instantly felt like she had been played with. Otherwise, why should Mao be so neat that she can cross from one side of the forest to the other? Feeling a bit displeased, Ruoxi carefully looked around and finally found an inconspicuous wooden sign on the right side with a line of small characters written on it. After taking a few steps, Ruoxi finally understood the content on it. Just like the deep sea of the 5 poisons forest, only by successfully inheriting the 5 poisons can we leave this place. Otherwise. Ruoxi curled her lips, and upon closer inspection, she realized that there were only 3.5 sentences. The meaning is quite clear. In short, the place where she is now is called the 5 Poisons Forest. If she wants to leave, she must obtain some kind of ghost and 5 poison inheritance. Otherwise, although there is nothing in the future, it is definitely not a good thing. She has never been someone who accepts fate. Since she has come, she will find a way out no matter what. Thinking of this, Ruoxi looked around and randomly chose a direction to walk in an underground ancient tomb deep in the 5 Poisons Forest. There is a simple decorated ancient tomb room in the center, with 2 coffins, one black and one white, placed on the ground. The black coffin is made of top-notch obsidian, which looks very low-key, luxurious, and upscale. And the white coffin is a high-quality crystal coffin, which looks noble, generous, and meaningful. Above the 2 coffins hangs 2 light clusters, one black and one white. On the opposite wall of the 2 light clusters, there is a circular light curtain that appears inside. It is Ruoxi, who is fighting against a poisonous and colorful python. Bold man, I think this girl is probably the heir we need to wait for. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and finally we have a chance encounter. The white light flashed and emitted a gentle old woman's voice. Humph, I don't think so. It's just a weak person in the middle level of Blue Xian. Although she has an invincible physique, she may not be able to see us either. After so many years, people with an invincible physique have also broken in. The black light flashed and spoke in the voice of an elderly man. I think this girl is different from those people who came in before. Besides, don't you think about it? If we can't wait for our successors anymore, we will completely disappear from this world. Are you willing to disappear like this without even having an apprentice? The old lady's voice was somewhat dissatisfied. Humph, even if there are regrets, I won't pass on my legacy to the incompetent, the old man continued stubbornly. Humph, I believe this girl will definitely do it. The old lady looked at Su Ruoxi in the light curtain and said with great confidence. Since Su Ruoxi suddenly appeared in their sight, she had an indescribable liking for her. She believed that this girl would definitely pass the test and come to them. If I had known earlier that I should have set the test simpler, the old lady thought with some regret. Su Ruoxi was really tired all the way, like a dog. She came out with venomous snakes and encountered some poisonous flowers. If it weren't for her invincibility, she would have died hundreds of times by now. However, because of this, her strength has also been greatly improved, which makes her very happy. Along the way, she also collected many medicinal herbs and poisonous flowers and herbs. Since she knew she could become an alchemist, she naturally wouldn't let go of medicinal herbs. After returning to the royal mansion, she doesn't know what kind of ghosts, snakes, and gods she will face. She must give herself more cards and means to save her life. Su Ruoxi also found that the deeper she went, the higher the level of the warcraft, and the higher the level of the medicinal herbs. After more than a month of experience, her reach almost returned to her modern state, and her body was almost raised. Along the way she is no longer as dry and lacking in nutrients as before. After advancing, her head has grown quite a bit. The only downside is that she only has such a set of clothes on her body, which is already in tattered condition. Fortunately, it was summer now, and there were hardly anyone in the Five Poisons forest. In the end, she directly pulled the complex dress into half sleeves and shorts, making it cooler and more agile in her movements. End of this chapter.